Joanne Hayes.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I rise to take a final call on this amazing bill, the Exclusive Economic Zone and Continental Shelf Environmental Effects Transitional Provisions Amendment Bill. A bill in the name of Dr Nick Smith, our Minister for the Environment. And Mr Speaker, I just want to make a bit of a comment around what our colleague in New Zealand First said about our loyalty to our Minister. This is what this national-led government and National Party is all about. We are loyal to each other. It doesn't matter whether you're a minister or not, we are loyal to each other. And I believe that, that kind of loyalty is a model that many parties within this House could take a page out of our book when it comes to loyalty for each other and loyalty to the philosophies and principles that run our party. So, Mr Speaker, the Honourable Nick Smith has been, is a very good minister. He is a very thorough minister. And he cares about our environment and has done a lot of work around protection of our environment, and also leading our Blue Greens caucus group that has been successful from day one since through his leadership, Mr Speaker. A couple of other things that I also want to mention here is when one of my colleagues talked about business continuity, and the other member who just spoke just before talked about this is a government that only looks after big business. Mr Speaker, in this particular bill, it's actually 4 key businesses, 4 key petroleum, gas, mining businesses that play a key role in the economy of this country, and we cannot and will not be taken aside and beaten up about that. These are organisations that make sure that the people of this country are able to access gas without any interruption whatsoever. And so, yes, we have acknowledged in our select committee, capably and competently led by Scott Simpson, our chair, by Scott Simpson, our chair, and we are a committee that listens to the arguments. We listened to the arguments about changes and amendments and weighed it up and thought, yes, it's a good way to go. And I'm really pleased. I'm really pleased to see that our colleagues in the Greens Party are actually have changed their vote and now supporting this bill, because it is a very important bill to support, Mr Speaker. And so this bill, the amendments that have been proposed in Clause 4, Section 162.5, it allows existing operators who have applied for marine consents to continue operations until the application is decided, and that's until it is decided. So they can go a little bit further until the application operating until the application is agreed to, and any other subsequent objections or appeals that are determined, and that's good for the industry of New Zealand. So if the amendments had been made, are not made, we had Shell Todd Oil Services would be in breach. And as we know, just recently Shell Todd received their marine consent to operate, and but we still need to get this bill through to make sure that any appeals and that if there are going to be any appeals, that this bill is through and the organisation can keep on operating in the Maui field. Now, the Maui field currently provides 20% of New Zealand's gas, and really important, we cannot afford for any uncertainty in that for the people of this country. And I can say that many constituents would actually have a go at us and say, you should have done more around that area, and we have. And that's the whole point of this, Mr. Speaker. It is a narrow focus bill, but it is a bill that is so important to the economy and livelihoods of the people of this country. And that's how we, on this side of the House, view everything that, all the bills that we put through, especially around the environmental protection. Mr. Speaker, currently as the law stands, current operators who apply for marine consents would be in breach of the EEZ Act. If they continued operating beyond the expiry date. This bill allows them to carry on past the expiry date until the EPA has approved their application for consent. Even a marine consent application being considered by the EPA, Section 162 of the Act, doesn't allow operators to continue their activities, but as I said, beyond the expiry date of their permits under the Crown Minerals regime, and this Act will actually make sure that doesn't happen. So, as I said, when I talked about big business, that was talked about just recently for dates of permit expirations. We're looking at Shell Todd Oil, whose permit was to expire on the 27th of June, but now has been renewed for 35 years. We were talking about the Australian Worldwide Exploration, whose marine consent expires on the 24th of November 2025. OMV New Zealand Limited, whose marine consent expires on the 1st of December 2027. And Origin Energy Resources, or Origin as we know them as, on the 26th of June 2031. So we know that Shell Todd didn't apply early enough, but what's happened now is that their application has gone through, and now we just need to carry on and get this bill through its third and final reading. We cannot afford to let any of the 20% of New Zealand consumers' gas go and be held up by a bill that will stop that. So that's what this bill is all about, Mr. Speaker. Our natural environment, and I've mentioned this before, is our greatest asset. It has been through the EEZ Act how we ended up with 44 marine reserves and how the Environmental Protection Agency came into being. And that's really key because pre-2008 there were no legislation in this country to protect our environment. And the previous government allowed 34 wells to be drilled without any protection of our environment. And I believe that's quite irresponsible to the people of this country and for our environment, because so many things could have gone wrong in those 34 wells that had been drilled without any sanctions or rules or watchdog body that was looking after them. And I heard what our Greens colleagues said about no deep sea marine reserves that have been approved, and that is fine. We have 44 of them so far. Yes, they are. Most of them are inshore, and slowly but surely that would be.
I was going to invite the member to address the bill.
And slowly but surely we would be looking to those into the future, Mr. Chair. So when we start, Mr. Speaker, aroha mai. So this bill doesn't change anything for existing operators. It just tightens everything up and makes sure it all works. And it also, what it also does is it gives surety into the future for those who are consumers of gas and oil products. It also gives surety for employment of people working on the Maui field, because as I said in previous speeches, I haven't seen too many Taranaki people walking around with their lip drooping because they don't have, because of the Maui oil fields. The Maui oil fields have, or the Maui fields have given so much security around the people of Taranaki, and with employment, economic development. I have been in Taranaki and seen the beautiful walkways there, the development of their town, and that's all attributed to the people that work and operate Shell Todd Oil, that operate those Maui fields. Mr. Speaker, I am, as I have said before, very pleased and very proud to support the progress of this bill into legislation. I'm very proud of the work that Nick Smith does, contrary to what everybody, some of my opposition colleagues have actually said. He's a hard worker, and one that many people could take a leaf out of his book on how to do things and how to do things right, acknowledge certain things need changing and do it. It's when people don't acknowledge it and don't change things that we get into trouble. And this is a government that listens, we weigh it up, we have discussions, we are very open about that, and then we present it back to the House. Mr. Speaker, I commend this bill to the House. Thank you.